So this is all about the UI part and how we need to show the users what
కొంచెం గట్టిగా.
uh okay, so now it is audible.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it is all about the augmented reality design guidelines, and this is a very dry topic, so I just see these pictures and I'll explain it whatever it is. Okay, so firstly, we need to keep 3 points in our mind: motion tracking, environmental understanding, and light estimation. AR collects all these informations from the surroundings, like all, and it is used to integrate it with the models or whatever we are going to build it. And then, okay, so there are basically two types of environments, and then other two contents we need to cover in this. The first thing is the physical environment. Physical environment is the environment in which the user is present. Um basically, it might be your home or some open place or anything or a vast field of area or something. And then virtual environment is what you see in your mobile. It is called as virtual environment. Okay, so as your phone moves through the world, AR code tracks the position of the relative world around it. And then, so the first thing is we need to keep it on continuous discovery mode. So that is wherever you move your phone, it should detect the planes like this, like how it is showing right now. And then there will be many environmental limitations like flat surfaces will be there. Sometimes planes will not be detected. Sometimes there is very low lighting, and then sometimes there is very so much of lighting. So we need to manipulate all of those. And then sometimes there will be reflective surfaces which cannot be detected as planes. And then sometimes there would be moving objects or something else. We need to design our product in such a way that it is all possible. Like you can omit these limitations. And then when it comes to size, you first need to decide on what is the real time environment you are going to place the object in. If the object which you are going to place in the real time world is going to be it's going to be fitting on a table, then your size of the object should be very low. You can see this here. Like if it is on a table, the object's size is very low, and then if it is in a room, it is according to that. It is the size of a human. And then if it is in a world outside, in an outside place or ground or somewhere else, see how big it is. It depends on the end product user. And then there should be a responsive play space. That means if you are uh, shifting the plane from one place to another place, like if you are placed it on a tabletop thing, make sure it fits on every tabletop. Like if it is a 2-inch table or a 4-inch width table, it should fit on everything. It should be basically responsive, like how websites shrink down in your phone when you actually create it for web. They shrink down to your phone and they look pretty good, right? In the same way. And then when it comes to users' perspective, considering the movement, we should encourage the user to move here and there. Like whenever we create a new object, we should give him a certain challenge so that he would move here and there to really experience what it is. And then, okay, so when it comes to the types of movement, so there will be different types of movements. Like you are seated with your hands fixed, and then you just need to move in the objects in your phone. And then sometimes you need to move your hands so that you can see the other parts of the object. and then sometimes you need to stand still with hands fixed and move the phone here and there so that you can see some objects. And then moving around in real space is the best thing we can do. It is the best user experience. And then uh, we need to guide them. Like basically, when you are building any app, you should consider the end user to be very naive. He doesn't know anything about AR. So, in keeping that in mind, you should build an app or any AR product. You should build it like that so that he needs every information, every detail about what it is and what to do next, what to do next. And then accessibility. So it should be accessible in every angle. You should be able to move it, you should be able to rotate it, you should be able to transform the size, you should be able to move it in that particular plane anywhere, anyhow you want. This is what I want to tell. It is moving like this, right? This is basically a functionality which every project should have. And then coming to users safety and comfort, we need to make sure that the user is safe. Sometimes the person gets too immersed into AR experience and then he does not differentiate from the real world to the outside world. So we should be giving him reminders like this is a game, you need to move here and there or something else like that. And then we should not in any way we should not make the user walk backward. Sometimes they move backward and then they tumble upon and they fall down. So this is going to be a problem. And then we should not make it so big. We should avoid long play sessions. We should um, actually keep it for a shorter time. Any AR project should be like around 5 minutes would be nice. And then more than that, he even find the user finds it even boring. And then so holding your phone for a long period of time will be a very difficult task. So encourage the users to move here and there, change the position. You should it should be like an experience which you feel every day. Like when we want to move any object, we go there and we move that. In the similar way, ask the user to go there and pick it up or put it down. Or some we can create something like that. And then there is one important thing, which is let the users take a break and let them save their progress. That is, whenever a person hits on pause button, and again when he wants to resume it, he should be able to get it from the same place where he has stopped. Uh, we need to modify our projects in such a way. And then this is the thing where avoiding situations where the user has to walk backward. If this is one such situation. And then coming to the content, realism. Okay, so all the types of content used in AR experiences have to be 3D for 3D models. So we need to blend in into the physical environment. It should be in such a way. We'll come to one point at a time. So when we look at modeling, we should give them the option to move it here and there. We need to give them the option to place it wherever he wants after detecting a plane. And then we need to give him an option to scale it up, scale it down, rotate everything. We need to give him an option to do everything with the 3D object. And then the 3D object should be viewed from all the sides, so that make sure that the 3D object is perfectly textured. Here, when you can see this couch, uh, the developer has given the user options to move it here and there. See these axes. And then coming to the texturing part, you should not use like heavy textures. Maximum the resolution should be at 2K because the rendering speed affects it the maximum. So it takes a lot of time to load, and then textures should be more lively. That is, it should feel more lifelike when you add some visual noise or etc. And then if we keep a flat plain color, For us, it seems like it is a fake thing, but it should not be something like that. And then this PBR material is something called physically based rendering, which is available in Unity also. So you can do this to all of your, I mean, all the 3D objects you have. So this is how the thing is changing with, this is a normal map, and then after roughness, applying different maps, it is changing differently. So enhance it until you get a realistic experience. So this is how it looks in a normal map. Like this, just a flat color. This isn't showing any realistic look. Here, if we apply another texture such that, see here, we can see the folds on the couch here and there, and then some other things. And then coming to the ambient occlusion, it is a rendering technique that controls the amount of shadow. So whenever an object is present, it has a certain amount of shadow in whatever light there is. So we need to focus on the light and we need to focus on the shadow, like how much light is enough for this shadow. We need to combine both light and shadow for the object. And then shadow planes. A shadow plane is a virtual surface that sits beneath your object. See here, there is no shadow for this object. So the user immediately gets to know this is a fake thing and he does not get a realistic experience. We should not do that actually. And see here, we have a shadow below the, and then lighting. We should build our models in such a way that it adjusts to the lighting in the outside environment. If you can see here, when there is light, it is normal, and then when light goes off, it is dimming according to the surroundings. This is not how it should look like. This looks like a ghost, so we should avoid these things. And then add depth and distance to your scenes so that it should look lively. Here, there is a frog on the couch, and then there is a leaf-like thing. So we should be able to differentiate between the place where the frog is sitting and then where this leaf is present. Okay. The presence. It should be same. The presence of the object should be same in every environment. So when the ball is there, it is bouncing here on this, and then it is falling on this. It should be the same when you go into some outside environment and there is some rock present here. And if you place the object somewhere in the air, it should fall down here, and then it should bounce, and then it should go there. Something like that. It should be same for the object. So for this to happen, you need to use all the above things like shadows, lightning, physics, reflection, and all. And then next, coming to the content placement. Uh, Firstly, we need to be able to find a surface. For that, we need to give the user perfect guidelines how to find a surface like this, something like this. So I've told you earlier, it is like the person who is using this is a naive person and he doesn't know anything about that. So it should be crystal clear for him to operate through the game or something else. You need to give gestures or something so that we will be able to detect a surface like this. And coming to vertical surfaces, we need to make sure that the game detects vertical surfaces also. It is harder, but we need to uh, implement that. It takes some longer time to locate for the app to locate vertical surfaces. But we need to give the user prior information that it is going to take longer time. Please be patient or something. And then after the surface is detected, make sure to tell him that this surface is detected. Now you are ready to go. And for that, you need to use some transitions like coming in and out, the plane coming in, and then some the 3D objects screen up here, like what object do you want to place there. And then when the user moves quickly, the app might lose its tracking. So you need to make sure or tell him that this is the optimal speed. If you move your phone at a greater speed, it is not going to detect. And then we should aim for visual consistency, such as the surface detections, and then we should give him a consistent look for the entire app or game. And then we need to communicate error states clearly and help users recover quickly. That is, if there is a problem in finding a plane, we should help him with that. We should give him an error like there is a problem with surface detection, or there is a problem with scanning the surface, or else so that he can and then we need to give him a remedy also, so that he moves his phone to some other place, or he moves to some other place, so that there is a enough place for scanning and detecting a surface. And then the placement range should be not very far, so that it should not be very closest to the user, it should not be very farthest from the user, somewhere in between. It should be somewhere in between. If you can see here, this is the upstage, which means it is very far from the user. This is the center stage, which means it is like near to the user, in the surroundings of the user. And then downstage is very close to the user, it comes into his face like that. So we should place it somewhere around here. It should be between downstage and center stage. And then maximum placement distance. So we need to provide the user with a maximum placement distance, such that if it goes beyond this some point, it should come back to the borders of the required region, like minimum maximum distance region. Just a second, guys. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah. So maximum distance is done. So and then destination point. So we need to make sure that we give him a clear view of where the object should be placed. We need to use virtual indicators, like as you can see here, when it is put up on the table, it shows the destination, like a circle is being shown, like here it is going to be placed. Similarly, when it is moved, it is showing somewhere on the ground. It should be clear to them where the object is going to be placed when a user taps on it. And then automatic placement works best when there is no obstruction in the environment. Like when you see here, there is an automatic placement of flowers and grass because there is a larger area here. So when we try to build something like this, we need to make sure we need to tell him beforehand that there should be a larger user space, larger real time space for this to work. Okay. And then when he is manually playing around with, when there is a manual placement, we need not do that because the experience would be fully interactive, and then we would say, we would tell him if you touch, it will drop there. And then always make sure we need to tap on some object to place it there. And then if it is an object which is being placed randomly when we start an app or a game, it's going to be slightly distractive for the user. So, and then when we tap on certain object, it should be placed very quickly. See here, this is how it is going to be. And then we need to give the user all kinds of options: tap to place or drag to place or whatever it might be. We need to give him that, and then we need to make sure there is this interaction going on. It detects the plane and then it's being placed. And then anchoring is in such a anchoring is such that when you place it there, it doesn't move from there. So whenever you go somewhere and come back to that same point, it will be present there itself. So this is how it is done. You should give you should give the this option also to the user if he wants to place it there and he wants to move somewhere else. And then there is no need to anchor static objects, that this chair isn't going to move, is not going to move anywhere in the real time world unless you move it. But then here the chessboard is going to stay there, but the pieces are going to move, right? So that is how it's done. And then when it comes to content manipulation, uh, the user should be able to select the object, like it should be large enough so that the user can touch on it. And then it should be easy for the user to spot the objects. And then see, when he is touching on the object, a plane is being appeared down here, a circle. And then when he is touching away, that is disappearing. So that it is an indication to the user that you have selected the object to do something with that. And translation, moving, select and drag to move the object. This is one another option we need to give the user. This is on a horizontal plane and this is on a vertical plane. And when there are multiple surfaces, I've already told you about this. It should be able to detect all the available surfaces for the object to be placed. And then when we are moving it, it should be like this. It should not again detect a plane, and then it should already detect all the planes available in the scene. And then it should be seamless when it is being transition. And this is again the transition limits. We need to give a maximum distance for them on how far to move the object, because as it is going far and far, it is hard for the user to detect the object and touch it, so that some functionalities of the object or some functionalities of the app will be missing. So it should be in a reasonable distance from the user. And rotation, we need to give a manual gesture control like this, using two fingers to rotate the object any way we want. We can rotate it any way we want. uh, auto rotation should be available for the user only if it is a part of the game we are designing, or else it would be kind of distortion or something if we give it an auto rotation. And then this is the scaling. If he wants to view it in a zoomed view, or if he wants to make it big and see that, we should be he should be able to move it. He should be able to scale it down. He should be able to rotate it. So these are all some UX parts. And then minimum and maximum scale. So it should not do if there is an object, if there is a sofa, the ideal size of a sofa in our world is going to be somewhere around 1 meter or 1.5 meters in width, and somewhere around a half a meter in height. So that would be our maximum scale, and then the minimum scale would be something like a miniature version of the sofa. So we need to make sure we need to give him some exact maximum and minimum sizes so that he can't move it, he can't scale it up. Uh, he can't scale it up more than what we are giving him. And then the scale and gameplay should be, yeah, hello, Abhinav, you raised your hand. Is there anything?
Sorry, that was my mistake. Please continue.
Yeah. Okay. And then the scale and gameplay. If it is a dinosaur or something, depending on the intention, you need to scale it down up and you need to scale it up and scale it down. Sometimes it will be hilarious and sometimes it will be absolutely terrifying. So, based on what we think the user feels it like a normal game or a normal user experience, you should scale it in such a way. If there is a dinosaur, it should be in this scale only. If it is such a small thing, then it would be hilarious for us to see. And then if it is a couch, it should be the same way like this it is looking. And then if it is in the way like it is in dinosaur, if it is the scale of a dinosaur, it looks absolutely worst. That is a worst thing to design it in such a way. Okay. And then the gestures and proximity, we should give him a wide range so that he can touch it anywhere. If we give it a such a close proximity, he can't uh, actually touch it. If we are touching it anywhere here or here or here, it should detect that the user is trying to touch it, and so that it manages it in such a way. And we need to make sure we need to accommodate various two finger gestures like rotating, touching, and rotating with the thumb and rotating with the index finger and thumb. We need to make sure we provide all of that. Next, we come to the UX part, initialization. So at the start, we need to give him a hand gesture to make him see what are the planes available. And then if we have a menu of 3D objects that need to be placed, we should give him an option like these are the objects you have to place. You select on one thing. It would be placed in the AR world. And then off-screen explorations. If the object is a moving object, or if it is even a static object, we need to give it a tag so that the user will not be confused like where the object is, and we need not search for the object every time. In such a way, we need to give it a tag. When it is going off screen, it is getting a tag. When it is on the screen, the tag is going on. And then we can use audio if we want, and then we should not give any feedback for the user. Like phone vibrations are general feedbacks, but we should not give it. It might disturb the AR feel to the user, and then it takes a long time again for the mobile or device to detect. And then we need to make sure it is interacting with the real world objects. Like it can't go beyond this point. See, the object is this much, but he's trying to place it on the wall. So the part here is being cut off. We need to show him that exactly what is happening so that he will scale it down or scale it up or move it to somewhere else. And then he should not, there should be a clear indication for the user such that is when he is going inside the object, he should not be able to see anything. It becomes blur. And then make sure the user can reset the object to the initial state. For some reason, he might scale it up and he doesn't want it like that, and he doesn't know how to scale it down again. There should be a reset button such that it comes to the original state at the big, like how it is in the beginning of the app. Multiplayer experiences, we that depends on the app. So if a user places a chessboard or something or a multiplayer game, and then the user too should be able to find it in the same place, and then this connection should be as seamless as possible. Uh, and then coming to the UI part, the interface, it should not be any. The user will be pretty much immersed in what he's doing, and then there should not be any sudden jerks like this. Like it should not a panel which is covering the entire screen. It should not be in such a way. We should give him a reminder, and then this isn't what is happening. So this is the reminder you are getting of something else. It should not suddenly come out of the blue. It completely destroys the AR experience for them and make the controls so easy for the user to use. And then keep it in mind again and again that the user is a naive person. He doesn't know what to do and how to do it. We need to first give him a flow, what is happening, and then guide the user visually, like what is happening, what is the process you need to do, and what you are going to do in the future, all of that. And it should be the object should be clear in both landscape and portrait. So, and the button should arrange automatically if there are any buttons also. And then errors for a dark environment, or if the user is moving the device too fast or anything is blocking the camera, we need to give him a message or something showing that there is